Welcome to the Astrology Show with your host, Kelly Fox. Each week, Kelly will give you access to the current transits that are a valuable tool which provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has through our sun sign. Understanding the current planetary influences each week can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. Sometimes events in your life may seem completely random, but there is a pattern to the order of these events, one set in motion in part by you and in part by the planets and stars in the sky and their influence on your life here on Earth. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, if you're going to get that promotion, move to a new city, or fall in love, tune in to the Astrology Show for guidance. It can help you anticipate problems before they occur, give you tools to cope with changes, and help you look forward to the wonderful days ahead. Kelly Fox is a professional astrologer and internet pioneer who launched astrology.com, one of the first and most successful astrology websites. Today, her passion lies with her new site, theastrologer.com, where she brings a modern-day approach to an ancient wisdom. Please join Kelly each week to learn more about how the planets can align for you.
Hi there, and welcome to the Astrology Show. I am your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, and I'd firstly like to apologise for my croaky voice. I have been getting over a flu, which seems to be never ending. So hopefully you'll be able to understand what I'm saying. Most people can, but please excuse my voice. So I'm going to be talking to you tonight about the planets this week, but I have to address the Virgo full moon that we just had. Did you feel it? So the Virgo full moon we had a few days ago is all about health, and I kept thinking about that the whole time I was in bed with the flu. The Virgo full moon, it highlights or illuminates things. So if you run yourself ragged, it will catch up to you health-wise. Also, it's a good time under the Virgo full moon to tidy up, clean up, spring clean, all that sort of stuff. Virgo is all about being orderly and tidy. That was our news, our big news of last week, and wondering how it affected all of you, especially you mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. Did you get yourselves together and in order and do a spring clean? Or did you live in the shadow side of the Virgo full moon and be a slob? So it's either one or the other, that's for sure. So this week, we've got big news this week. Of course, we have two planets changing sign, and that's communication planet Mercury and love planet Venus are both moving into Aries. So many of us will be feeling that shift, that lightning bolt shift when that happens. So Mercury is planet of the mind, and when it's in Aries, our minds could be functioning at top speed. And definitely in short bursts of activity, because Aries doesn't really hold attention for too long. Aries gets bored very fast, and when Mercury is in Aries, many of us, especially the fire signs, and that's Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, will become very impatient. So it's good to not focus on one idea for too long, and it's really good for snap judgments based more on instinct and logic. And then Venus, love planet Venus, is also moving into Aries this week. So we could find that our social lives are very exciting. Lots of places to go, lots of people to see. Many of us might be bolder than usual, taking risks and acting on our ardent impulses. And of course, Venus is a planet of love. So romance will be steamy for the next few weeks. And especially, again, if you're a fire sign, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, this applies to your planets in fire signs. This applies to you. And also this week we have lucky planet Jupiter turning retrograde in Scorpio. So Jupiter moved into Scorpio in October of last year, and that's when we had all the Me Too scandals coming to light. And if you listen each week, you may recall that many shows I have mentioned Jupiter in Scorpio because it is big news, and there have been big scandals from big Hollywood types and politicians. So this week Jupiter will be turning retrograde or appearing to be moving backwards in Scorpio. So what we can expect at this time for the next few months is to have these Me Too movements and other similar things coming again into the spotlight. So things will be uncovered once again, and even things that might have been deeper into the closet will most certainly be uncovered. I will address all of these things later on in the show as we go on. And of course, at the end of the show, like I do every week, be sure to stay tuned for your weekly horoscope and what your sign can expect this coming week. Okay, so I mentioned last week's full moon in Virgo. That occurred on March 1st. What a great way to start the month. And it's the first of two full moons in a calendar month, which is really, really unusual. So in February, of course, being a short month, we didn't have any full moons. And so March is making up for that. So on the 1st, we had a full moon in Virgo, 11 degrees. And then on March 31st, we're going to have another full moon, the second full moon in Libra. And so the second full moon on the 31st will be known as a blue moon, and a blue moon is a full moon, the second full moon of a calendar month, which doesn't happen very often, and it really doesn't have any astrological significance because, as we know, the calendar is human-created and astrology is the natural cycles of life. So when you try and fit nature into a human-made, I was going to say contraption, a human-made invention like a calendar, you've got to have some exceptions. And that's why we have the leap year every 4 years, because we're trying to fit nature into something that is human-made. So we've got two full moons in March. On Thursday, the 1st, we have this full moon in Virgo. And as I said just before, it's all about health, diet, and fitness. And yes, it really is for me because I have this flu, as you could probably hear in my voice. So a very interesting full moon. So I said it's a good time to get organised and manage our stuff into more manageable piles, and really focusing on the smaller things, because Virgo is all about the detail. Life, I just can't imagine what life would be like without Virgo. The world would just be a sloppy, messy place. So with this Virgo full moon, the moon was in Virgo. It was opposing the sun in Pisces. Now, we do have, or on the 1st especially, we had a lot of Piscean energy. The sun, Mercury, Venus, and Neptune all in Pisces opposing the Virgo full moon. So it's all about finding balance. And every time we have a full moon, which is every calendar month, it's all about illumination. And if you look up in the sky at the time of the full moon, you can see a very bright, white, round moon, and it shines the light. And then 2 weeks before and after that, we have a new moon. And the new moon is things that are hidden, because the moon, from our point of view on Earth, sits in front of the sun and blocks the full radiance of the sun and darkens the moon. So that's quite symbolic as well, because in February we had a solar eclipse. Solar eclipse is basically a supercharged new moon. So we're through the eclipse cycles at the moment. The next lot of eclipses, we have 3 of them are occurring in July and August. So at the moment, we've got a bit of a reprieve. When I look at the overview of 2018, and if you tuned into some of the January shows that I did, you'll know that I talked about what's coming for 2018, and there's a lot happening. If you did miss those shows, be sure to go to the OMTimes archive and have a listen, because we have a lot going on in 2018, especially if you're a fixed sign or you have planets in fixed signs. And the fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And if you don't know where your planets are, in what signs, besides your sun sign, I highly urge you to go to my website and get a free chart wheel. And then each week you can follow along and see where the planets, how they're affecting you each week. Now, on my website, it's new.theastrologer.com/chartwheel. And then you'll get a free chart wheel. And it really makes things so much easier to keep track of once you know where your planets are. It is quite insightful. So back to the planets, and we're just at, we're on the tail end, or actually we're sort of through the full moon now. But it's all about matters of health. As I said, health, diet, and fitness. If you're looking to start a fitness routine or change your diet, now would be the time to do that. It's a very good time to really focus on your body, what you put into your body, and basically be more efficient overall, not just with your body and yourself and your diet and your exercise, but really what's going on around you. It's like time to catch up. Many of us have like a very proactive work ethic right now. And we're going to take a short break on that note, so stay tuned.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Hi, this is John Ondrasik of Five for Fighting, here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. You know, style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody's business. So please, plan ahead, designate before you celebrate. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hi there, and welcome back to the Astrology Show. I am your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, with a croaky voice. Anyway, so the planets this week. So just before the break, I was talking about the full moon in Virgo. We're on the tail end. Well, actually, not on the tail end. It's sort of behind us. But I'm thinking I'm on the tail end of this flu that I have, and it's reminding me of the Virgo full moon and how it's still in effect for me personally. But anyway, for everybody else, it's definitely behind us now. And the Virgo full moon highlights health, diet, fitness, efficiency, detail. Can't forget the detail, of course, when Virgo's around. But back to this week. So this week we have 2 planets changing sign. The first up is communication planet Mercury is moving into Aries. And then the next planet is love planet Venus, moving into Aries as well. And I'm going to cover a bit later how these 2 planets changing sign into Aries affects your sign. So let's start with Mercury in Aries. So communication planet Mercury is moving into Aries. Depends where you are in the world, but let's see, Pacific time, 11:35 p.m. And so if you're on the East Coast, it's going to be 2:35 a.m. tomorrow morning. So basically when we're all asleep here in the US. And so Mercury is moving into Aries, and this is going to be an extra long Mercury cycle, because if I had a drum roll, I'd be doing the drum roll. You might be able to guess what I'm about to say, why this Mercury is an extra long cycle. And that's because it's going to be turning retrograde. That's right. The dreaded Mercury retrograde is fast approaching. Now, Mercury's going to be in Aries from March 5th or March 6th, depending on where you are in the world, through May 13th. It turns retrograde on March 22nd until April 15th. And when we're in that week of March 22nd, so the March 19th show, I will be mentioning and reminding everyone once again that Mercury will be turning retrograde that week. There's a lot happening that week as well because the sun moves into Aries, and in the Northern Hemisphere, it will be spring. Yay! And the start of the astrological new year. So, back to Mercury in Aries. So Mercury is planet of the mind, and Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. And the first sign of the zodiac is moves very fast and is very impatient. So when you put those 2 things together, the mind and impatience, that's what we can expect during this extra long Mercury cycle all the way through May 13th. And so when Mercury is in Aries, and depending on how it influences you personally and all your natal planets, many of us might find that our mind will be functioning at top speeds. And what's going to be preferable is short bursts of activity. What's not very good under Mercury in Aries, under a Mercury in Aries transit, is focusing for long periods of time or having long-term activities and projects that need completion. Now, the key word here for Aries with Mercury and Venus in Aries is patience. That is definitely the key word, especially for the cardinal signs. And the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So it's important to try not to focus on one idea for too long under this influence all the way through May. It might be good just to sort of burn through one thought quickly and move on to the next. Instead of sitting back and weighing all the pros and cons of the situation, many of us might make snap judgments based, as I said before, more on instinct than logic. This is not a time for deep investigation, although that said, we've got Jupiter turning retrograde in Scorpio, so that will force many of us to go back to the past and really unearth or dig up something that has definitely been hidden. So we've got, that's the thing with astrology. It's always about different, not competing influences, but different types of influences, and sort of merging it all together. So the best place to start is really, one planet at a time, and then combine all the energies together. So at the moment, I'm only talking about communication planet Mercury in Aries, and that as a pure energy. So when I start incorporating the other planets that we've got going on, it gives a whole picture, but of course then it's how these energies influence your natal chart and you personally. So with Venus and Mercury moving into Aries, both are going to be forming a square to Saturn. Saturn's going to be very, very grounding for many of us, especially the cardinal signs that I just mentioned. But it's more about taking care of responsibilities and not like rushing through things as many of us may want to do, especially with Mercury in Aries. So when Mercury is in Aries, many of us may find ourselves, on fire with one brilliant idea after another. It's a really great time with Mercury in Aries for, generating creative new ideas, but it's not necessarily about follow through. Our busy brain might keep some of us up at night because there's so much high-speed activity. And it might be good just to jot down some notes, maybe even the old-fashioned way, keep a notebook on the nightstand, or even, if you must have your phone next to you, make notes in the notes field, because many of us, our minds will be just so finely tuned, coming up with all these amazing, amazing ideas. And because Aries is a cardinal sign, it's all about trend setting. It's all about taking the path that hasn't been taken before. Also, when Mercury is in Aries, honesty and directness is a really good approach with communication, because, many of us, we're going to be thinking so fast that to actually slow down and think through reasoning practical steps just won't happen. So there's another great thing that's coming from Mercury in Aries is words just erupt from our mouths quickly and abruptly. We might even surprise ourselves with what comes out. So with, our mind's moving so fast with Mercury in Aries, and the image I have of that is like a speeding bullet train, that the words are just flowing out. So many of us might need to make an effort to be tactful and diplomatic. And this is to avoid hurting other people's feelings, of course. Now, another great use of when Mercury is in Aries is word games. Word games, board games can be especially fun. Of course, not if they last too long. Even like debating ideas or arguing just for the fun of it. And arguing, I guess the word is debating, not really arguing. Because when I think of Aries, sometimes with arguing, I think of two rams, the symbol of Aries, clashing horns. So be careful of that as well. Don't let the fun spin out of control into something else. Maybe a good use of Mercury in Aries would also be writing an opinionated letter to the editor on a topic you feel really passionate about or even outraged about. That could be extremely satisfying when Mercury is in Aries as well. As sort of, we all need an outlet, because Aries is it's a very physical sign. It's always on the go. It's a fire sign. So we need to make sure that we're not like keeping things to ourselves. There'll be a lot of honesty, let's say, at this time. Now, when Mercury is retrograde in Aries, and that will be March 22nd through April 15th, this will require many of us to go back to redo something, because if you know anything about Mercury retrograde, it's all about something from the past. Now, Mercury retrograde has a reputation of really creating snafus and hiccups and challenges around communication, which is all very true, especially because when it's in Aries, we're all going to be in a hurry. So we're not really thinking things through in a very methodical, practical, pragmatic way. We're more about diving head first into something and blurting something out. So the repercussions could come when Mercury turns retrograde in Aries. So that's March 22nd through April 15th. So it's important to not rush into something during this time when Mercury is in Aries, because when it turns retrograde, we might be fixing something or chasing something up or covering something. Now, we have to be very careful with our patience. If we do something because we're highly impatient to get things moving, this translates to impulsive words that might cause quite a stir in other people or upset other people. So I think probably the hardest thing during Mercury in Aries, especially retrograde, is to have some self-restraint. I think would be the best way to go, because during the retrograde period, it all might catch up to us because we've been feeling so passionate about a particular subject or a topic. Which means if we're passionate about something, we may create equally passionate responses, which might not be so fun to deal with. So my words of wisdom are, make sure you say nothing that you'll regret later, because otherwise you might be dealing with a very harsh and critical critic. Things are also misconstrued when Mercury is retrograde. We might even have the best of intentions, but our words are misunderstood or misconstrued, taken the wrong way, especially when Mercury is in Aries. So again, it's like if we can think first and use neutral, non-threatening language and stay on lighter subjects. Okay, we're going to take a short break, so stay tuned.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Looking for inspiration?
Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go?
Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat?
Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi there, and welcome back to the Astrology Show. I am your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, with a croaky voice. Don't mind my voice, the frog in my throat. It will be gone by next week. Yes, as the full moon is behind us. So just before the break, I was talking about communication planet Mercury. It's going to be moving into Aries tonight or early tomorrow morning. So our minds are going to be ablaze with a million ideas, and we're going to have to really take conscious steps to have a pragmatic, practical approach to many things, especially because the Mercury retrograde, the dreaded Mercury retrograde, will be upon us during this extra long Mercury cycle. So basically we can expect Mercury in Aries all the way through May 15th. So also this week we have love planet Venus moving into Aries. This happens on March 6th, and it will stay in Aries until March 30th. And if you're a regular listener, you might recall that I say a lot, the planets have their favorite signs and their least favorite signs. And Venus doesn't really like Aries too much. It's very uncomfortable in Aries because Aries is ruled by Mars. So Aries is very comfortable with Mars, with that very masculine energy. But when it comes to Venus, a very feminine energy, it's not very comfortable being paired up with Aries. So what this influence is really good for, and of course it always depends on how the planets affect your birth chart, many of us might find that our love lives could be really exciting, our social lives, our external lives. So if you get any social invitations, be sure to accept all of them. Even though I said Venus does not like Aries, but there's always a positive and a not so positive when it comes to the planetary and the sign influences. And really what it's about is how to use these planetary energies to your maximum benefit or maximum effect. So a good use of Venus in Aries this month is all about being bolder than usual, maybe taking some risks, acting on your ardent impulses. And if you're single or coupled, romance can be really steamy. It's a good time for experimentation, trying new things. But watch out about getting carried away, because Aries sometimes can get carried away. And when it's coupled up with Venus, some of us might be getting carried away by our passions and forget everything else. Now, if you are a single person and you are looking for a relationship, this is an ideal transit for initiating new relationships. And Aries is a very confident sign as well. So many of us will have the confidence to go after what we want, or who we want, I should say. But of course, who we want or what we want could change from moment to moment. That's just a little disclaimer there. It's really, when Venus is in Aries, it's more about the hunt. It's more about the hunt that thrills us right now, while the everyday work of a relationship could feel stifling. So we're looking for excitement and adventure while Venus is in Aries. Now, this applies to all the signs, but especially the fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, or anybody that has planets in those signs. And if you are coupled, try and break up some familiar routines. Try something new. Because routine is really the big downer here when Venus is in Aries, and especially Mercury as well, because routine is boring and ho-hum, and it will most certainly be so when these planets are in Aries. So how about surprising your sweetie by taking him or her out on an unexpected outing, or try some innovative new approach. Try something different that you haven't tried before. Bring the spark back. Also, when Venus is in Aries, we might find ourselves wanting to assert our independence, because Aries is a very, very independent sign. It likes to be solo. It likes to take charge. It likes to set its own course. When it comes together with love planet Venus, it's all about what we want. Many of us are seeking freedom. So this is about getting in touch with our own needs and desires separate from our partners. It doesn't mean that we have to just do everything alone, but it's like have your independence within your relationship. Know that the relationship is there, but it's okay to go off and do something without your partner every once in a while. And clinginess is a definite turn-off when Venus is in Aries. Now, this is not good news for Cancer the crab. So Cancer really likes to hang on because particularly Cancer, also Scorpio, the water signs, Pisces, clinginess is not good when Venus is in Aries. So it's going to be hard for some signs to let go and let that happen. But if you can give your partner the space they need to explore different things, maybe that haven't been tried before, it's a great way to recharge the vitality in the relationship. Another word of caution when Venus is in Aries. Be careful of a tendency towards impulse spending under this transit, because Venus is primarily love and our social life, but it's also money. And when it's in Aries, Aries is very quick. It doesn't sit back and think through things. It really likes to act on impulse. So when you put those two things together, finances and impulse spending, just be really careful. So some of us will be very impatient. We will want what we want when we want it. So my words of wisdom here with this influence is a little patience and prudence could be in order. And knowing, as I said before the break, that Lord of Karma, Lord of Responsibility, Saturn, will be forming a square to Mercury and Venus in Aries. So we do have to always remember our responsibilities and act in an adult fashion. Otherwise, it will definitely catch up to us during this time. So just remember, Mercury is going to be retrograde, and Venus is not happy when it's coupled with Aries. And then you've got this square from Saturn. And then, of course, later on Pluto, Saturn and Pluto being the two heavy hitters of the solar system. They're not very happy with Mercury and Venus being in Aries. So this is all about taking responsibility. Be very careful, be very prudent. So how will Mercury and Venus be affecting your sign? And I'm going to go through each of the signs and just give you some keywords on what to expect during the next few weeks. And of course with Mercury, with its extra long cycle, because it's going to be retrograde. How will this be affecting your sign? So if you're an Aries, you will have Mercury and Venus influencing your appearance and your individuality. All eyes will be on you when these two planets are in your sign. So be very careful with what you say, because Mercury will be turning retrograde. Be very careful with communication, because people will have long memories around the things that come out of your mouth. So don't make promises you can't keep. If you're a Taurus, this is an interesting time for you, because it's very important to listen to your subconscious. Pay attention to your dreams and your intuition. You might also find yourself, when Mercury is retrograde, that you're dealing with institutions or very, very large corporations. If you are a Gemini, this is a time for friends and acquaintances, and join groups or be part of a group, online, offline. Network with like-minded people. Gemini is very good at networking and socializing, and these two planets in Aries give you a boost in that department, so make the most of it. If you are a Cancer, when Mercury and Venus are in Aries, this influence affects your career. So be careful at work during the next couple of months. because you might find when it's Mercury retrograde that you'll be redoing something when it comes to career. Be very careful with how you communicate because it could be misconstrued. If you are a Leo, when Mercury and Venus are in Aries, this will be all about publishing and higher education, possibly legalities and any sort of dealings overseas. If you're a Virgo, this is all about money and what you share with others. It's also taxes, and of course we're coming into tax season, taxes, inheritance, insurance. So big money or what you share with others when these two planets move into Aries. If you are a Libra, the focus for you will be on your relationship. So there might be some misunderstandings when it comes to your relationship. So be very careful with what you say. It might be misunderstood or misconstrued, or perhaps even issues being dredged up from the past that have not been resolved. If you are a Scorpio, for you it's a focus on health, diet, fitness, and your daily routine. Now, you might find that daily routines are sort of boring when Mercury and Venus are in Aries. So this is a good time to really start new routines. It's a good time to start a new diet, a health program, a daily routine. This is also about pets for you. If you're looking to get a pet and you're a Scorpio, this is a wonderful time to do that. If you are a Sagittarius, lucky you, with Mercury and Venus in your house of romance and courtship and entertainment and children and creativity and pleasure and amusement, this is a really nice time for you. But as I said, with the square from Saturn and Pluto, don't forget your responsibilities because they may catch up to you. If you are a Capricorn, the focus for you will be on home and family. And as a Capricorn, you are ruled by Saturn. Saturn is currently in your sign, so you have a very good sense of what responsibilities are anyway. If you are an Aquarian, when Venus and Mercury are in Aries, it's all about the intellect and learning. And if you're a Pisces, it's all about money. Don't go out there spending what you don't have. Anyway, we're going to take a short break, so stay tuned.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Tune in to the Practical Intuitive, Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World with me, host Robin Fritz, Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern. I'll cover personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice, and more, all to help you tap your own intuitive and healing skills. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Welcome back to The Dog Show. Up next, we have Satchmo. Satchmo is a member of the Shelter Pet Group.
That's right, a group known especially for their couch-snuggling, ball-chasing, face-licking, and, of course, companionship. Now, let's see him in action.
Look how he makes eye contact with his person.
That's actually known as the treat stare.
How intuitive, and now he appears to be excitedly turning in circles.
Ah, the happy dance so common with this group.
But really, the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Satchmo is to meet one.
Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Hi there, and welcome back to the Astrology Show. I am your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, talking about the planets this week. And so just before the break, I've been talking about Mercury and, communication planet Mercury, love planet Venus moving into into Aries. Now, next up, we've got Jupiter retrograde Jupiter's turning retrograde in Scorpio. That's happening on Thursday all the way through July 10th. Now, this is really fascinating because I was saying earlier on in the show that there's been many shows since Jupiter moved into Scorpio in October that I've talked about the Me Too movement. Now, Jupiter typically is known as the planet of luck and good fortune. And when it's in Scorpio, it's all about also excess or shining the light that hasn't been shone before. That's my favorite sort of term about Jupiter in Scorpio. Now, Jupiter is about to turn retrograde and sits all the way through July. So this is really fascinating because, you know, Jupiter, as I said, is typically known as the planet of luck and good fortune, but it's also about excess because whatever it touches, it makes bigger. So if you think about Scorpio and what does Scorpio mean, Scorpio is the things of mystery, things that are hidden, sex. It's also very passionate sign. It's very manipulative in some ways when pushed into a corner. And then Jupiter, if you put those keywords together, it makes everything bigger that it touches. So it's like since Jupiter moved into Scorpio on October 10th, 2017, it's very much about shining the light where it hasn't been shone before around the keywords of Scorpio. So, you know, Jupiter does bring luck and expands whatever it touches, but it is about to turn retrograde. So it's going to make something really big that has been hidden, and I can't imagine what that would be after this Me Too movement. What else could possibly be hidden? Well, just as an example, and I don't usually mention people's names, but, you know, I see that Posby's going back into court. There's going to be a retrial. So I saw that today with interest as well. That really piqued my interest thinking about Jupiter retrograde in Scorpio. Scorpio is a sign of desire. So when it comes together with Jupiter, that makes everything bigger. You know, there's this very intense, mysterious, magnetic sort of energy that's going on. You know, with the desire of Scorpio and then the excess of Jupiter. And of course, you know, scandals, as you know, I've just been talking about, scandals will be revealed. And be careful of, like, people preying on the weakness of others. We discover what is hidden, and that's what's going to be coming up as well over the next few months. So it's like, let's see what's in the news, what comes about with the headlines, and seeing what others miss. Scorpio has a real talent to be able to see what other people miss. Self-discovery and, of course, intimacy. These are all keywords for Jupiter turning retrograde in Scorpio. So the other planetary influences we have this week, on Sunday we had the Sun conjunct Neptune. So it's not a good energy for focus, but it's great energy for tuning into your intuition, your creativity, your spirituality, any sort of musical ability. Sun conjunct Neptune is a really nice energy to do that. Of course, both in Pisces, where it's amped up even more because Pisces is the sign of daydreams and intuition and creativity. Also on Sunday we had Mercury conjunct Venus, which of course that's what I've been talking about the whole show. Communication planet Mercury coming together with Venus, love planet Venus. They're moving into Aries, but they formed a conjunction at the very late degrees of Pisces. So it's a really nice energy when Mercury and Venus come together. So you've got heart and mind blending really well. It's very romantic energy. We're more articulated in expressing our emotions, any sort of creative communication. So you might have found yourself on the weekend writing love letters and cards and phone calls and emails and poems and music and art and you name it. So it's a good time to communicate in a creative form. And people have been a little bit more flexible than usual. So any sort of negotiation, if you might have had any today or these past few days, they should have gone quite well because both parties are sort of looking out for each other, after win-win situations. It's going to be interesting when Mercury and Venus move into Aries. It won't be as flowing and nice. It's more soldier-like, we're charged up and we have to win type of energy. And then this Saturday, we've got Mercury square Saturn, which I've been talking about. When Mercury moves into Aries on Saturday, it will form a square to Saturn. So there might be some difficulty communicating, and especially with authority, because Saturn represents authority. It could be quite challenging around communication. People might be more skeptical than usual, maybe cynical. Just be careful with how you speak to authority, particularly at the end of the week. A lot of people might be more critical, hanging on to their own ideas, dogmatic, narrow-minded. We might be feeling inadequate when it comes to our own mental capacities and speaking abilities. We've got to work hard to explain ourselves, that type of thing, when Mercury forms a square to Saturn. Now, for your weekly horoscope. So if you're an Aries, find your softer side. You could always get what you want by force, but why would you do that? Show the world your compassion, your bravery, and your tolerance. Don't take what you can get simply because it's easy. If you are a Taurus, for this week, keep your cards close to your chest and don't discuss your private life with others. Likewise, keep the confidence of anyone who confides in you. Information is power during these energies, so don't give yours away, Taurus. If you are a Gemini, lively conversations with friends, family, and colleagues can quickly turn into full-scale war if you don't adopt a more flexible approach. Yes, have your say, but avoid being dogmatic and aggressive over your viewpoint. And as I said throughout the show, communication planet Mercury is moving into Aries. Aries is the sign of the soldier. If you are a Cancer, you have an unusual amount of influence over others, and you may find yourself being the spokesperson for a group. Check your motives carefully before you make a move. Are you acting for the greater good or just for your own good? If you are a Leo, you're very concerned with big picture issues right now. Who's going to save the world? Well, that's not clear. But what is certain is that someone still has to take the trash out and pick up the kids. Don't ignore the small details which make life tick. If you are a Virgo, use your intuition. Logic will only get you so far during these energies. There is a lot which is currently hidden from view. You have a strong inner sense of who you can trust, and you are rarely wrong. Heed your feelings and act accordingly. If you are a Libra, ever the zodiac's natural diplomat, your instinct is to calm, to soothe, and to negotiate a way forwards. Use this skill in your own personal relationships and show your lover that you really do mean to find a solution. Keep talking and you'll get there. If you're a Scorpio, you may need to make adjustments in your career in order to maintain your physical and emotional well-being. The stress of work can be truly harmful to you, but you have the chance now to find a new equilibrium, especially remember as Jupiter is turning retrograde in your sign. If you are a Sagittarius, there's a playful and creative vibe around you, and it's a perfect time for getting new ideas off the ground. So don't be afraid to experiment at work or to be more spontaneous at home and in your love life. Forget the rules. Go with your heart. That's your favorite thing to do. If you are a Capricorn, it's a very busy week at home, perhaps with unexpected guests or appliances breaking down and requiring repair. Despite all the comings and goings, however, you're finding a new sense of peace and calm amid the chaos. Home is your castle now. If you're an Aquarian, focus on difficult paperwork this week or tie up loose ends in work or study matters. The energy around you is busy but proactive and positive, so keep going. you'll have accomplished a lot by the end of the week, which should be really satisfying. And finally, sweet Pisces. And some weeks I feel really bad because I run out of time, so I wanted to make sure that I really got all this in for you, Pisces. So for you, the good news is it's a fantastic week for manifestation and conscious creation, which you are so brilliant at. Pisces really is tuned into a higher source, and this is the week for really tuning in, especially as the Sun and Neptune hooked up yesterday in your sign. It's like your psychic and intuitive abilities are on turbocharge. So it's like whatever you can imagine, you can start to bring into being now, which is really exciting. Whatever you can bring into manifestation, do it. You have these amazing powers that be at the moment. So be aware of the values you're showing in everyday life and start to live the life you've always wanted to lead. Oh, what a great way to end, Pisces, is to give you that really great bit of information, especially because Jupiter is turning retrograde in a fellow water sign. Now, the water signs are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, and Jupiter, planet of luck and good fortune, is on your side this week. So that's it from me. Thank you for joining me. I am your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, and this is The Astrology Show. Wishing you a great week.